This is a strange tale of the very first Japanese car to arrive in the UK. A Labour Member of Parliament and an importer of binoculars, telescopes and tape recorders. This is the Compagno story. 1965 was quite a year for the UK. Queen Elizabeth controversially awarded all four Beatles with the Order of the British Empire. Wartime leader Winston Churchill died. The Post Office Tower opened in London, and the 70-mile-an-hour speed limit was imposed on UK roads. And 1965 would also be significant for the UK motor industry, because this was the first time official car registration data was published, and it showed that the Austin Morris 1100 was our favourite car, taking a huge market share, something a single model would struggle to achieve today. The Ford Cortina pulled ahead of the Mini to score second place in the overall chart for the year, and in fourth place was the aging Ford Anglia, which was just 2 years away from replacement by the Escort. Vauxhall was also present, but of the name that went on to be discontinued in 1976, the Victor. Unlike today, there was not a single foreign model in the top 10, as imports accounted for just 5% of UK registrations, but the automotive industry was already talking about the long-threatened Japanese invasion of the UK car market. So who would be the first Japanese brand sold in the UK? The mighty Toyota? Datsun perhaps? Or maybe even Honda? No, it was actually Daihatsu who first reached UK shores way back in May of 1965. On May the 16th, 1965, the Mirror newspaper reported that a Labour MP, Leo Absey, chairman of the Highgate Optical and Industrial Company, announced the company would be branching out from their usual stock in trade of binoculars, telescopes, tape recorders and radios imported from the Far East to their most ambitious venture yet, selling cars produced by Daihatsu of Osaka, Japan. In fact, they would distribute the Daihatsu Compagno model, the name coming from the Italian word for partner apparently. It was the brand's first car and only their second ever four-wheeled production vehicle. Available as a two-door saloon, a four-door saloon, an estate and even a pretty little convertible styled by Vignali, the future for Daihatsu in the UK was already looking promising. So Highgate established a subsidiary company, Dufay Birmingham Limited, confusingly not in Birmingham at all, but located on Great Portland Street in London W1, and they would distribute the cars in the UK. At a time when the government was very keen to reduce the rise in foreign imports, it wasn't a move without risk. They planned to sell 600 cars in the first year, 2,500 in the second, and an ambitious 20,000 within 5 years. However, at least in the Compagno they did have a well-equipped car with its standard heater, reclining seats, tinted windows, clock, cigarette lighter and a radio with an automatic antenna. Features virtually a revelation when BMC and Ford were still charging for even the most basic extras. Press at the time reported 40 to 50 cars would be brought into the UK initially, and interest from dealers was encouraging, with 250 registering an interest to sell the brand. So surely it would sell like hotcakes. Well, actually not, and by the time production ended 5 years later in 1970, Daihatsu had produced 120,000 cars, but sold only 6 to 8 cars in the UK. So why did they fail so badly? Well, part of the answer could be down to the price. Driven by high import duties, even the cheapest model in the range, the 800 Compagno Berliner four-door sedan, was some £699. £280 more than an Austin Mini and £260 more than a Hillman Imp. At a time when average UK salaries were only around £1,000, this would be a huge barrier to overcome, and spending 40% more to buy a completely unknown brand in the UK would take a huge leap of faith. So what did testers of influential magazine Autocar think of the first vehicle of the long-threatened Japanese invasion? Well, apparently not that much. When they tested the first car, CGH-8B, they described it as well made but technically unadvanced. It had a two-door four-seater body but sitting on a separate chassis still, and in the design of the suspension, engine, transmission and brakes, it actually followed conventional design of British cars some 8 to 10 years early. And they went on to say the Daihatsu is shown up by most European cars of a similar engine and body size. Not only in matters of performance and economy, but also in aspects of its road behaviour, although these competitors are still £200 cheaper. However, on the plus side, engine refinement compensated to some extent for the restricted performance, they said, and one soon developed a heavy-footed technique in driving the car because the power unit doesn't seem to object at all to constantly hard driving. It simply buzzed rather than thrashed and roared, and in top gear was remarkably unobtrusive. Thankfully, the brakes weren't on the Compagno's list of shortcomings, being strong and resistant to fade. However, they recognised the Daihatsu does impress for the quality of workmanship, and there are many who understandably attach great importance to this and prefer a car that is well made, even if outdated, and of an inferior design to one which is technically superior but badly constructed. The combination of a price 40% greater than competition, an outdated body-on-chassis construction, low-powered 797cc engine, lukewarm press response, an inexperienced UK importer, and market resistance to a relatively unknown brand enabled Ford, BMC and Vauxhall to continue to sell cars in their thousands, untroubled by Japanese brands, at least for now. Daihatsu were ahead of the curve that would see the arrival of Toyota in 1966, Datsun in 1968 and Honda in 1972. In fact, by 1971, the threat of Japanese car imports was such that Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders negotiated a voluntary restraint agreement to protect the UK car industry from Japanese imports. However, the little Daihatsu Compagno would forever keep its place in UK automotive history as the first ever example of what Autocar once described as a long-threatened Japanese invasion of the UK car market. But that's not quite the end of the story. What happened to that very first car imported into the UK? Well, incredibly, Daihatsu Compagno CGH 8B, the very same car tested by Autocar back in August 1965, and one of only 6 ever imported, still survives. In 1977, Tozer, Kemsey and Milborn established Daihatsu UK and resumed imports, relocating the brand's headquarters from Andover to Dover. The car, by then a rusty wreck, was offered to TKM, and upon realising its historical significance, they immediately purchased it, and sister company Seeking Automotive commenced a 9-month restoration. Then MD Peter Kinnard said, "We felt restoration was still worthwhile due to the historical significance of the car." And when in the year 2000 ownership of Daihatsu UK passed to International Motors, CGH 8B, the very first car, was transferred to them as well, and it remains as part of their vehicle collection to this day. So thanks again for joining me on Lot 76 Cars. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.